Okay, this is your test review for chapters 6, 7, and 8. And I'm also going to have in this a hidden extra credit for your test. And on that, I will let it be um, due on Wednesday by midnight. And I will tell you how to submit it by the end of this review. All right, important terms. Non-elastic adhesive tape. Examples of this are white athletic tape and Leukotape. And Leukotape is a brown, real rigid tape that we use, like, let's say if your kneecap pops out of place, we use it to help with that. And it's, uh, like I said, real rigid and real hard to tear. A lot of people can't tear it; they have to use scissors to cut it. Um, Elastic adhesive tape. These are tapes that are real stretchy. This is like KT tape, um, stretchy tape, AC tapes, and these like AC tape or stretchy tape. We use these for like say someone needs a little extra support when they have an ankle sprain. I'll use that. I'll tape them with the white tape and then tape the AC tape and go over the top of it just for a little bit of extra support. Off the shelf equipment. These are some of your mouthpieces, knee braces, ankle braces, Simply Stable, off the shoulder braces, things of that nature. And Simply Stable shoulder braces are the shoulder braces that attach in the middle of the shoulder pads and then move out and attach onto the shoulder, and it keeps them from being able to pull out this way or out this way and dislocate um, their shoulder during like football. And the knee braces or ankle braces, these you can just buy off the shelf somewhere, and you're not they're not custom made for someone or the mouthpieces either. Tape adherent QDA or tough skin. This is the stuff we spray on before we actually start to tape them or lay down pre-wrap, and so we'll spray that, then we'll lay down the pre-wrap, and then we'll tape them with the white tape. Elastic bandages, that's like the ACE wraps. Mm, You have these, and then they have the little metal clips attached to them. These are elastic wraps we use. Our ACE wraps we'll use for like if they have too much swelling. So when you wrap those on, you don't want to have a whole lot of tension to them. I'll use these like if someone has a fracture to wrap a splint on. I'll also use this. Let's say they need a little extra support because they have a hamstring strain or a quad strain. Now I'll give it a little bit of extra pull because you do want a little extra on that because they're using that for support. Elasticity, we're talking about this is the property that allows the tissue to return back to its normal state after it has been deformed. Let's say you have an ankle sprain and it's real ugly and swollen. This is the property that allows that to, after the swelling goes out, of the ankle to go back to where it previously was. Referred pain, you have an injured area, you're injured in one area, but you feel the pain somewhere else. Let's say your spleen, you're injured, you've injured it. Well, you're going to have referred pain in your left shoulder. Okay. Um, you're injured your spleen, you didn't injure your shoulder, but you're going to feel the pain up here. Sling cyclometer. This is something we use. It used to be a machine that they would take and they would sling it up in the air and it would give you something called the wet bulb temperature. And that temperature would tell you how dangerous it is to to practice because of the relative humidity in the air, um, and how hot it was. Uh, Now they use digital ones, and the ones we carry with us have a little thing on the top, and you turn it, and it has what looks like a little mirror on the inside, and you set it out in the sun, and it takes a reading of the dry bulb and the wet bulb temperature, and the dry bulb temperature is just the actual temperature outside, and the wet bulb temperature is the dry bulb temperature with the relative humidity mixed in, and that's going to tell you um, how how dangerous it is to actually practice. How do we need to modify our practice conditions because of how dangerous the weather is? Do we need to build in extra water breaks because of that? What else do we need to do? We also have um, cooling tubs on the sidelines because of things along those lines of um, how hot is it and what else do we need to do. Acclimation. This is getting the athletes used to the weather, especially hot weather. And we do this during especially the first part of football season. You'll take them out in nothing but their shorts and their shirts for a couple of days and get them used to the heat. And then next, we'll introduce helmets. And then the next couple days, we'll introduce the shoulder pads. And then the next couple days, we'll introduce the pants with the pads inside those. And then they'll practice in those conditions, getting them used to the same conditions that they're going to play in. And, all the while of uh, making sure that they're hydrating and all that, and getting used to the weather and getting used to what's going on into the environment. All right, let's go over the parts of the shoe now. All right, the toe box. This is the front of the shoe where your toes go. All right, the sole of the shoe. All right, everybody knows where your sole of the shoe is. The heel counter. The heel counter is the back of the shoe. This keeps you from being able to, twist your ankle. In most shoes, if it's sturdy, especially running shoes. This is what you want in a running shoe to be kind of stiff. The shank of the shoe is between the sole and the metatarsals. Um, the shoe uppers, this is up around the ankles. And arch support, that's in the arch of the foot, and you want that to be um, uh, depending on your foot. If you have a high arch, you want it to form up into that arch, because you want it to give it support, and so that you don't have what's called arch, that foot drop or arch drop, that arch to drop, because then it can cause you problems in the future. Um, Straight form. This is going to be for someone that overpronates. This is somebody like me that walks more toward the inside of their foot. That would be uh, semi-curve would be somebody that walks more toward on the outside of their foot. That would be for somebody that over-supinates. And so you need to, when you're picking out a shoe, figure out which one you do. So you can look at the bottom of your shoe to see which side's more worn out over the other, and to figure out which one you need more. And places like Fleet Feet or Stinky Feet or like that, they can, or even Dick's, they can help you with help you find the types of shoes that you need if you go in and ask them. All right, how to fit shoulder pads. All right, there are two types of shoulder pads. You got cantilevered. These are used for blocking or tackling, and non-cantilevered. These are non-restrictive with motion, and these are used for your quarterbacks and your receivers. And these non-cantilevered shoulder pads, they're smaller shoulder pads, and they're let them raise their arms up in order for them to be able to pick up their arms to be able to throw the ball or reach up and grab the ball. You have to measure the width of the shoulders to be able to know which shoulder pads that they need. The inside of the pad should cover the tip of the shoulder in line with the lateral aspect of the shoulder. All right, the epaulettes, and I'll show you pictures in just a minute, and the cups must cover the deltoid and allow motion when they pick up their arms. The neck openings must allow the athlete to raise the arm over their heads, okay, without the pads slipping backwards and forwards. All right, and you had with the split clavicle pads, the shoulder must be in the proper position. The straps underneath the arms should be firmly in place without the soft tissue restriction. All right, let me show you these pictures over here. All right, so these right here are your pads for your receivers and your quarterbacks, and they're the ones that allow them to be able to pick the arms up and things along those lines. And these are more for everyone else, especially like your linemen and your backs and things along those lines who have to actually hit someone. All right, so this are the epaulettes. These are what we're talking about. You have to make sure that they cover the tips of your shoulder, okay? Because if they don't, then we have a problem with them injuring the AC joint or even the soft tissue structures of the shoulder, or even get fractures to the humeral head because they don't have all that covered, and you're causing issues for no reason. And all right, and if you look right here, he's making sure that this is not too far out from the deltoid, and that it's not too far off of the shoulder in this picture, from the top of the shoulder and the top of the pad, and that there's so that when he goes to move his arms out to block, or he goes to move to, basically move his arms out to block, that he's able to move and those shoulder pads aren't moving around, and that they're securely strapped on, and you can see that they are. All right, and they're strapping the front, they strap in the back, and some of these shoulder pads have multiple ways to strap on. They have a strap that comes across and straps or buckles in, and then they have another one that comes in and as you can see, kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but it goes up in there and twists in, and that allows for double security. And then, of course, they lace up in the middle right there. All of them lace up in the middle pretty much. Or they Velcro. All right, how to fit helmets. And you should always follow manufacturer directions on the shoulder pads, the helmets, mouthpieces. Um, as far as that is concerned, because if you don't, then you're going to run into legal concerns, especially as an athletic trainer, and you don't want that to happen. All right. This is a pet peeve of mine. A lot of times your younger kids will get stuck with helmets that don't fit, and that's because they get the hand-me-downs from your high school kids because they don't want to buy equipment for the younger ones. And that is a pet peeve of mine. Just not for that. And then same thing with shoulder pads, but I mean, to me, there's got to be a better way because you're putting a kid at risk for no reason. So let's talk about helmets. Like I said, and fitting of helmets. Like I said, follow the manufacturer's directions, and you've got to routinely check this because they're going to cut the hair during the season, or it's going to deflate if they have the type of helmet that has the cushions on the inside that require inflation. Some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them have pads on the inside that don't require that. You should try the snug fit or credit card test, and I'll show you that in just a minute. If you're changing in altitudes, that could mean the bladder in the helmets, if they require air, they may need to be rechecked. Chin straps could have 2, 4, or 6 chin strap systems. I've not seen 6 straps yet. Most of mine are either 2 or 4 on the helmets that my kids use so far. Most of them use 4 straps. Jaw pads, these are essential. You need to make sure that they have those in because they keep them from rocking side to side, and they also they act like they don't need these things. They keep, those help keep them from having, all those pads in there keep them from having concussions, and they keep them from having jaw injuries and facial injuries. The loop straps should be secure on the face mask, and they can be cut to help if we need to, if we suspect a neck injury or we need to do CPR. All right, let's talk about. All right, notice right here, he's checking right here to make sure that there's not a whole lot of room in between the jaw pad and the face, and right here. You don't want to make sure it's right at the occiput, okay? Should be 2 finger lengths between his forehead and the top of that helmet. You should be able to see the ear holes. And right here is the credit card test. Right there. And you take the credit card and put it in between the face mask and the helmet. And the in his nose, and it should be securely fit and snug. Okay. When you do it around, it should not move. All right. And as you notice, this one is a 4-point face mask or chin strap. Here, this is a little bit better picture. Here's 1, 2, and then there should be 2 on the other side. And it should be securely snug, and so that when he's moving around, it doesn't move. All right. And like I said, you should always follow the directions on these, because if you don't, then you could require yourself into a lawsuit that you don't want. And all of this is under the NOCSE rules and regulations. These helmets have to be sent off every year, or every other year, I think. Well, it depends on the helmet. If the helmet's messed up, then it has to be sent off every year, but I think it's every other year or so. But like, I know this year we sent off all of ours to have them redone, recertified, to make sure that they were up to grade and ready to go. And that way we didn't have to buy any new ones this coming up year, unless they get messed up. But the NOCSE symbol has to be, or NOCSE certification has to be on the helmet, and it's about right there. And it tells you that the helmet is safe to use, and if it's not on there, then they shouldn't use that helmet. And the kids that buy their own helmets, the coaches should make sure that those helmets are sent off also and reconditioned when they're supposed to be. And if they're not doing that, then they're doing those kids an injustice. All right, mouth guards. You have 3 different types. You have custom, commercial, and stock. All right, the commercial and stock, pretty much you can buy off the shelf, or have a company send them to you. Custom mouthpieces you have to get from your you have to have done from your dentist or orthodontist. They help protect not only your teeth, but also from lip lacerations, especially if you have braces. If they fit right, they do not impede speech or breathing. All right. And they should always fit to the last molar. They are constructed of flexible, resilient material that fit the teeth and the upper jaw. Okay. And that you should not cut them down, because if you do, you void the warranty on the dental protection on them, especially ones that are custom made. All right. And kids will chew those things down to practically nothing. And if they do, and you see it, especially athletic trainers should make them get new ones. I do. If I see them and I catch them and they're flat, I make them get new ones. They're mandated by that high schools and colleges have to use them, and as strict as the NFL is, I'm surprised that they do not make them. All right, let's talk about weather-related issues. All right, pretty much you got, here are all our heat-related issues that we worry about. Heat rash, that's typical. That's prickly heat. It's caused by unevaporated sweat getting on the skin underneath the clothes. It's supposed to say clothes, sorry. And in order to keep from getting it, you keep the skin dry, keep it toweled off. Heat syncope. This is when you're going to be dizzy and faint, and it results from standing around in the heat for a long period of time, and all of the blood will pull down into the extremities and cause you to be, like I say, get dizzy and faint. And in order to resolve this, you'll have them lie down in a cool place, consume fluids, and elevate their legs up. Heat cramps. These we deal with all the time, especially during preseason football. And I got lucky this year. I didn't have a whole lot, but I educated my athletes on how to hydrate. And also, I would not let them wear tights. Told them if they wore the tights and they were out there cramping, I was going to walk as slow as I could to come get them. So they did not wear tights. Because by wearing those tights, they kept the heat next to their body and they weren't able to let it dissipate out away from them. Okay, so I don't let them wear them. These are, as y'all know, spasming of the muscle, and it's very painful, and they don't like it. And it's loss of water and an electrolyte imbalance in the body. In order to prevent it, you got to increase fluids and maintain the electrolyte balances. But when they do get it, you treat with fluids, ice massage, and light stretching. All right. Exertional heat stroke. All right, this is when they have a core body temperature of more than 104 degrees. And in order to figure this out, you got to do a rectal temperature. Okay. They will suddenly collapse, have loss of consciousness, and that's the LOC. They'll be hot to the touch. Their central nervous system, they won't have control of it. They'll have a strong, rapid pulse. They'll have a shallow breathing, and you're going to want to rapid cool them. In the book and in the original PowerPoint from the thing, they say don't put them in a cooling tub. Now they tell you to put them in a cooling tub and cool first, transport later. You got to strip them out of the clothing. If you don't have a cooling tub, you want to use ice packs. And I think the reason they use the cooling tub because of the loss of consciousness. Now, if they're unconscious, you're not going to stick them in a cooling tub, obviously, because you don't want them to drown. Okay, that's obvious. All right. You can use ice packs, so put them underneath the armpits, in the groin area, around the neck, and get them cooled down as fast as possible. It says use a heat thermometer, but basically it's a rectal thermometer, and they must be cleared by a physician before they can come back and play. All right, exertional heat exhaustion. They're going to be pale and sweating. They're going to have an elevated temperature. It's going to be less than 104 degrees. It's going to be dizzy. They're going to have muscle cramps. They're going to be hyperventilating. They could be nauseated and vomiting or have diarrhea. They're not going to be very coordinated. I've seen them stumble all over the place. You're going to put them in a cool environment, going to give them liquids, and you're going to remove excess clothing. And if you can, put them in a cooling tub. And they need to be cleared by a physician before they come back. All right. Acute exertional rhabdomyolysis. These are kids that usually have sickle cell trait. Um, this right here, gradual muscle weakness, swelling, pain, dark urine, renal failure, renal dysfunction, severe renal failure, and it can even cause death. These need to be referred to a physician ASAP. Okay, um, this is when you need to know when your athletes have sickle cell trait or sickle cell anemia. And I made sure I went through all of my uh, forms and knew which of my athletes had this trait, which ones had the actual sickle cell before we started football practice this year. That way, I could tell the coaches, okay, we need to go lenient on this one when they start having these issues, and pull them out of practice, or let them maybe not run today, or something along this line, because sometimes you do need to let them have a break from maybe running or whatever. All right, malignant hypothermia. Hyperthermia means an increase in temperature, and this is a muscle disorder resulting from hypersensitivity to anesthesia or heat, and heat, excuse me, and it's similar to the same signs as a heat stroke. So you have to do a biopsy to confirm that they actually have this. And if you find out they do, they need to be disqualified from activities that are in hot, humid conditions. Hypothermia, that is cold conditions, and really and truly, we don't have a whole lot of hypothermia. We're not going to have a whole lot of hypothermia out here in Mississippi. I do remember a couple years ago, it was 18 degrees. I had soccer going on, and baseball was practicing, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, we're going to get somebody with hypothermia, but I doubt it. It wasn't wet outside, so. But you do have to think about those type of conditions maybe in the northern states, but we don't have to really think about that a whole lot down here. Let's talk about also on here the your extra credit. Let's add tape tearing. This is your extra credit. So in order to tear the tape, all right, you're going to take your fingers, okay, and hold the tape like this on one side, thumb on the other side, holding it like that. Same way on this side. Hold your thumbs together and rip. Okay. Want to see that again? Okay. All right. Let me get a new piece. All right. That's how you do it. Now, you try. Even if you can't do it, just try. All right. Just athletic tape. If you need to, it's not real expensive. You can get a roll of it at Walmart or CVS, Walgreens, somewhere like that. Maybe a couple of you go together and get it, or maybe you talk one of the athletic trainers into a piece of scrap role, and especially athletes, and work on tearing it. And record yourself doing it and post it on Canvas, on the email on Canvas. Do so by Wednesday at midnight, and I'll give you extra credit on this test. Thank you very much, and y'all have a good week.